Good morning, good evening, wherever you are across this great nation or around the world. My name is Kelly Robertson. I am your host of Deja Brew, waking you up to truth. Now, today we're going to talk about a whole host of things, but we're going to begin with um, an opening statement here that I just really want to say. Our country seems to be in grave danger, to put it mildly, of the way that our Secret Service and other three-letter alphabet agencies protect us, the citizens of America, we the people. Um, but all is not lost, and all is not as grave as it seems to the masses at the moment. Now, I'm sure many of you have been watching the news. You know all about how things are not adding up in the attempted assassination of our former president, Donald Trump. And I have some updates on that today. I've been doing lots of research for the past week, and I want to share some of the things that I've been finding and putting together that to me make a lot of sense because from day one, from the day that it happened, Saturday, July 13th of 2024, I have been saying this was not just one sniper, one shooter. He had to have had help, likely a second and possibly even a third shooter on other roofs or tall buildings, if you will, in the area. We all know now that it's going to be the water tower that I'm speaking of. And also that because they missed at getting Trump the way that they intended to, they being the deep state, that now they'll go after Biden. And clearly, that is what is taking place right now. There is a very blatant coup happening with the sitting president of the United States of America. And regardless of how you feel about Biden or Trump or which political party you stand behind, this is our country. This is the great country of America that we are watching these atrocities play out in. Do we sit idly by and allow this to continue? Or do we stand up for the rule of law and the constitutional rights that we, the people, are supposed to be able to be privileged enough to live by on a daily basis while we are raped and pillaged at every turn? Now, I just want to read an opening statement um, from the Florida GOP Representative Greg Staub. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He recently has filed for articles of impeachment against Kimberly Cheatle, the head director of the Secret Service. She repeatedly has been derelict in her duty to protect Trump, to protect our other dignitaries and peoples of authority. She's highly complicit in her position alone of who she is and how these atrocities have taken place underneath of her um, authority, her duty to look after them. But the Secret Service calls themselves one of the most elite law enforcement agencies in the world. So, what happened under their watch in Butler, Pennsylvania on that thankfully not so fateful day for everyone? Though I do want to continue to keep the family of Corey in our prayers and forever keep him in our memorandums as a true American that would do the same thing. We would all do the same thing that he did for our children and our loved ones that he did on that day. And we should never, ever, any of us, be put in the position to be that person having to make that choice within our own nation. Neither should either of the other two um, patriots that were just there at a rally that were inflicted quite extremely in the wake of all of this, and their families have now been affected as well. We need to always keep them in our prayers and our memory so that we can never ever let this happen again. We, the American people, need to stand firm on this and not let this be allowed to be swept under the rug. So, yesterday, this particular Florida representative was exercising his congressional authority of oversight by filing an article of impeachment against Director Cheatle for her dereliction of the duty as it results and relates to the assassination attempt on President Donald Trump's life. He was not alone in this, and I am very, very proud of the bipartisan raking through the coals that this woman experienced in her questioning by our good representatives. I'm very, very proud of the way Democrat and Republican alike asked her very hard questions, questions that were very necessary. I also want to share with you a piece of information that I'm sure most of America is not aware of about Kimberly Cheatle, the director of the Secret Service of the United States of America. She's only been in that position for 2 years, since 2022. She was nominated per Jill and Sleepy Joe Biden because she had worked as Jill's detail previously. So she has worked for the Secret Service, but her main job until she got this position was with PepsiCo. That's right. She was the senior director of their global security at PepsiCo. And even on their website alone, let me just share this with you so that you can see on their website, they can't even give her proper props back then in 2022. This is the latest thing they have on her. Let me just show you um, this one right here. This is Security Magazine. And I'll leave the links below if you want to go check these things out for yourself. It says Women in Security 2022, Kimberly Cheatle, PepsiCo. Kimberly Cheatle, Senior Director, Global Security at PepsiCo, thrives on helping to protect and support others. Then they've got this little short snippet. Working for a mission that's bigger than herself has always motivated Kimberly Cheatle. Toward the end of her college years, the dual mission of the U.S. Secret Service to investigate and protect resonated so strongly with Cheatle that she knew it was where she wanted to be. Once she set her sights on the federal agency, it took her 2.5 years to get hired. Why does it take you 2.5 years to get hired there? Before finding her way into corporate security, Cheatle would spend the next 27 years dedicating her skill set, experience, and leadership to the U.S. Secret Service, becoming the first woman in the role of assistant director and developing, directing, and implementing the agency's global protective mission, which includes protective operations and countermeasures to create secure environments with acceptable risks for designated people, places, and events. That achievement is typically a male-dominated industry, and that was not lost on Miss Cheatle. She says that she kept a photo on her desk of the first 5 women sworn into the service and used that to remind herself of these women and the opportunities they created for her that would help her to grow and others as well. Now, I want to ask you if she's so proud of being a woman in such a high position, how and why did she allow this to happen on her watch? A, a very informative group of people that I know would often say to us, how many coincidences before it is mathematically impossible? So I'm asking you now to think with your mind, think with your logic. and ask yourself, where does this really add up? Because as far as securing people and keeping them safe, there are no equations in this that add up to that. There were so many ways that they completely failed and made this a debacle. An ultimate failure is an understatement. That the only mathematical calculation that adds up is conspiracy. That's right. Conspiracy to do harm to people in a public situation, conspiracy to murder a former president of the United States. Who is complicit in this conspiracy? Did you know that the young man who managed to get to that rooftop with that weapon has connections with BlackRock and the FBI? Did you know that there were phone pings tracked from his home and his workplace from a year ago to the Washington, D.C. FBI office? And this is who's in charge of our investigation? I think we, the people, need to demand a different scale set here, a different group of individuals to do the research and the investigation into this so that it can be done the proper way, the legitimate way, the legal way, the way that our judicial system is supposed to work for us. Now, I also want to share some other snippets with you. Because at least Georgia is getting it right. And I should hope that the rest of the states, mine included, are going to soon follow suit. And prior to this Georgia thing that we're getting ready to hear, I just want you to listen carefully to what Biden says on this panel.
Foreign dignitaries inside the White House. Okay, this is unedited.
Thanking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared.
I've sold a lot of state secrets. A lot of very important things I've shared, says Joe Biden, who's, well, let's see, had his own classified documents scandal that he was guilty of, and his own Justice Department said he's too mentally handicapped to...
And I just want to say, how many treasonous, high treasonous crimes do we blatantly know about now as the American public? And what are we going to do about it? We should be standing at the doors of every one of our representatives, or at the very least be on the phone with them, writing them emails, letters, whatever, to make sure that all of this crime, racketeering, high treason, espionage is ended and the people who are guilty of it punished immediately.
Stand trial. He did steal classified documents, and here he is just openly admitting it. So maybe the one good part about Joe Biden's infirmity is that he just straight up tells the truth. Like in this shocking clip where he explains how Joe Biden is planning on getting elected in 2020.
And you guys did it for our the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
The most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. Wow. Well, what exactly does that look like? Well, to me, it looks like in the middle of the night, having unauthorized vehicles with crate loads of ballots being driven into the vote counter centers, having all the tabulators pause in the middle of the night. Never seen that before. We're going to shut down voting. The machines need rest, you see, for the delivery of ballots over and over and over again. How blatant was it? Well, I mean, one, it's all caught on camera. You can see here 37 days of early voting. Now, it's illegal to put more to vote for more than just yourself, all right? To drop off just your own ballot. It's illegal to do that. Yet here is footage, dozens of hours of footage of individuals in Michigan just shoving ballot after ballot after ballot into the little drop-off.
And there is so much more video footage, evidence of all of this that the American people really should pay attention to, that's out there in the public. Our My Pillow guy, what's his name? I don't know. I can't remember his name either. But you know, the My Pillow guy that's gotten beat up and torn down every which way he can. He actually has real footage to show and prove to the American public that this happened extensively across our nation and abroad. I digress.
Just ballot after ballot. Clearly just the smartest people around. In fact, this was so egregious during 2020 that CNN caught it happening live.
Ballot drop box in Cuyahoga County, Ohio. You can see this woman right here casting her vote. Did you vote for Reagan or Jimmy Carter?
Carter.
Carter, okay. We don't want to get too personal with people here, but you can see.
Look at this. The perfect archetype, right? The minivan, the mask, a Jimmy Carter voter. And look at her. Look at the fistful of ballots she's got. Where'd that lady get those ballots? Whose ballots are they? I thought she only had one vote. The archetype, ladies and gentlemen. Again and again and again. This lady's now going to prison in Connecticut for voting again and again and again and again with someone else's ballots. The use of illegal ballots in elections not only is immoral, of course, but it destroys the entire election. I don't care if one candidate wins, one candidate loses. It is irrelevant to me. If a single illegal vote is cast in that election, the entire election is tainted. One vote.
Agreed. Now let's bump a little further ahead here. Okay, so this says breaking news. The Georgia Election Board has voted 3-1 to adopt rules to require ballots be hand counted at the precinct level by poll officers each day of voting to ensure the totals match with the machines. This is a game changer for election integrity, folks. The poll manager and the 2 witnesses shall sign a label affixed to the container indicating that it contains all of the correct ballots from the indicated ballot box and no additional ballots, the new rule says. This rule used to exist until corrupt Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger ordered poll managers to stop doing it. I now think that Georgia is going full-blown red because of this and other good changes that have been put into place. And as I said before, I certainly hope the rest of our states follow suit, because this is immense, the amount of atrocities that are being committed left, right, and center right in front of us. Now, I want to show you some more things that I've been finding. Which one is it here? Because this doesn't stop with tainting our votes. Okay, there is bribery going on with our jurors that is supposed to remain private. You know, the list of jurors is supposed to remain private, and somehow people are getting their names
to resign.
All right, this in the wake of his conviction on federal bribery and corruption charges. Fox 5's Teresa Priolo live in Union City with reaction from his constituents tonight. Teresa.
Yeah, Stephen, Natasha, Union City is the city that made Bob Menendez. You walk around here, neighbors will tell you that's where he used to get his haircut. That's his favorite breakfast spot. That's his favorite dinner spot, which is precisely why they tell me they are so disappointed and even hurt by Tuesday's verdict.
It makes us look bad, you know, as a community, Latino community, you know. So that, what does that mean when another Spanish leader is going to take another position? So it's going to be the same thing, you know. They're not going to trust us.
Here in Union City, New Jersey, the legacy of Senator Bob Menendez looms large. This tiny enclave once celebrated their native son, who rose from Union City mayor to New Jersey's senior senator. Now, in the wake of the jury's guilty verdict Tuesday, there are some who wish he would resign. Do you want him to step down from office? Do you want him to give up his seat?
He has to, yeah.
Union City is known as Havana on the Hudson, a safe and welcoming city for Cubans immigrating to the U.S. That's the environment Menendez grew up in.
I know him, and then I know him for a long time.
Juana owns a barber shop on Bergen Line, where a teenage Menendez used to get his hair cut.
I'm hurt because, you know, he's my friend. And then I'm hurt for the children, I'm hurt for him. And then I don't believe it because I don't know him like they say he is.
Everybody here either knows Menendez personally or knows of him. And despite the allegations against him, they have considered him a neighbor and advocate. I do not understand the bad things that people say about what happened, and I certainly can't talk about it. I always respected him and admired him. I'm told Senator Menendez is weighing his options. He has two choices right now. He can resign on his own accord or remain in office and face an expulsion vote from any number of Democratic colleagues, including Senator Cory Booker. The latter is far more involved. The last time a sitting senator was expelled was in 1862 during the Civil War. Once Menendez is out of office, there's debate over who Governor Phil Murphy will pick to replace him. My sources tell me he's keen to appoint the state's first female senator. That person would hold office until the new year. I was in.
So now we're going to move on to this one. Except my mouse is stuck. There it goes. Because this is 4 hours ago. And Menendez is now going to resign. And he was found guilty for federal bribery. Okay? Federal bribery, which he will face charges for. This is unprecedented times that we are in, ladies and gentlemen. And it's time for a great change to bring this nation back to greatness once again. Listen. And yes, I know, CBS News, but still.
Breaking news now from Washington, D.C. and the United States Capitol regarding New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez. Let's go ahead and go to CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian on Capitol Hill. Nicole, of course, we know the senator dealing with his conviction of corruption, bribery, wire fraud, obstruction of justice. What is that breaking news?
Well, the news is that New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez intends to resign next month, effective August 20th, according to multiple sources familiar with his impending announcement. And of course, this comes as the senator was potentially set to return here to Capitol Hill today. Of course, the Senate has been out, but today would have been the first day back for senators, including Senator Menendez, which would have marked the first time since his conviction last week. Certainly important to remind viewers that the senator was convicted on 16 counts in a federal corruption case, everything ranging from bribery to extortion, a wire fraud, acting as a foreign agent, and other charges. And so these were all very serious, and we saw in the wake of that conviction a number of the senator's colleagues here in the Senate calling on him to resign. Others also suggesting they may move to expel him had he not resigned. So that is a significant development in that the New Jersey senator appears to now be making this decision to end his political career, which has spanned a decade, including 3 terms here in the U.S. Senate. But certainly the senator has made clear and did make clear after that guilty verdict that he still intended to fight the charges, and his attorneys believe.
Okay, so he can fight the charges all he wants, but I think real policy change is coming for America, and there will be no room for career politicians that will have the space and the opportunity to take these bribes to create bribery or anything else, because we're going to change policy and keep them in check the way that they need to be kept in check. Now, I also want you to hear this. Oh, wait a minute. My apologies. Hold on just a moment. Of course, it's going to act up when we're talking about this kind of sensitive stuff. So, here it is. Sorry, I had to find it again.
Gutted from the inside out. We'll go through some of that, and then as I'm filming that video, it's like, hey, did you know that Joe Biden's being reported as dead? And I'm like, no, I did not know that. I started looking through it. It's like, yeah, he's either dead or terminally ill. And I'm like, wow, that's a big story. I feel like I should probably cover that. So I filmed that. And then while I'm filming that, I put that video up. I get up. I'm like, I'll go take a break, go to jujitsu. And then bam, out of nowhere, okay, this report comes up. And oh my God, okay, oh my God. So I honestly think that this is so important that I'm going to tell you who this is reporting it first, because it is like, this is so serious, okay? So
this is very serious. And we also have expert audio analysis people coming forward and saying that there are 3 distinct gunshot sounds happening in the audio from July 13th, 2024, during this attempted takeout of Donald Trump. We also have whistleblowers, not only from the Pennsylvania Police Department, but also whistleblowers within the United States Secret Service, who are now coming forward and being put into protection for their account of what is taking place. This is not going away anytime soon, folks, and they're not going to be able to just sweep it under the rug, okay?
The Oversight Project is the Everyday Americans legal and investigative org battling corruption and weaponization. And they got 50,000. They've got the yellow check. Okay. How am I not following them? I mean, listen, dude, bottom line, this is a credible source. All right. Now take a look at this little gem right here that we're going to look at, dude. So this is about connections between the assassin and the federal agencies, specifically the FBI, it looks like. So, okay. So that's what we're going to do, okay? And we're talking like digital footprint connections. Like, we're not talking, hey, we saw this guy who worked for the FBI in 1992, and he was walking on a street that Thomas Cooks or whatever, Crooks had lunch on 6 weeks prior. We're talking like cell phone tracked to his residence that is connected to the FBI building in DC. It was here at his house, and now it's here in an FBI building. Like that kind of connection, which is absolutely insane. I don't understand how all of these stories are real, but they are. And so that is what we're going to look at. And you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and you can.
Yeah, please do subscribe to him. He's really great at digging up.
You can say that you were here before 400,000 subscribers when I have 7 million, you know? And you're like, I was there. I mean, listen, dude, I had less than 200,000 10 days ago. 10 days ago, I had 184,000 subscribers. And now I have whatever I have now, which is just bananas. I am incredibly grateful. And
We're going to skip ahead.
Exactly right, because they straight up could not get her to answer any questions today. That was infuriating, dude. So here we go. Someone who regularly visited Crook's home and work also visited a building in Washington, D.C. located in Gallery Place. This is in the same vicinity as an FBI office in June 26th, 2023. Whose device is this? Are you serious?
And let's not forget about the 3 offshore accounts that this young man with no digital footprint, no social media, no friends also has. Come on.
Seriously, whose device is this? Okay? If this is the FBI, then I feel like we should probably know exactly why the FBI was in the house of a guy who was in a BlackRock commercial and then subsequently took shots at the president.
Agreed. And furthermore, we need to detain, take off duty every top of the echelons of the FBI, the Secret Service, all of the people that were involved, police departments included, put them on leave and interrogate them, question them, investigate them in any way they need to within legal structure, of course, till we get to the bottom of this, because we need to know a full, complete list of who is complicit in the assistance of a conspiracy to assassinate a former president of the United States of America. So I'm going to leave that one there. We're going to move on. Let me get back to here first so that we can do the share screen. This one would be right here. This one. So this is the House Homeland Security Committee.
Mr. Gray, if you're going to want to ask any other questions, or
I'll have a couple.
okay, sounds good. So you'll follow me, and then we'll go around.
And just to be clear, they are actually questioning the Pennsylvania police officer, or excuse me, police official. I think he's like the head of the police department, director, or however you call that.
I just want to get back to this text message that was sent at about 20 to 25 minutes prior. That text message was a picture of Crooks. Was it a picture of him pointing the rangefinder or of him just looking suspicious?
Chairman, I have not seen the picture that was sent, so I don't know.
But
my understanding is, to the best of my briefings, it was the pictures that were initially taken by Butler ESU.
Okay.
Why would he not have seen the pictures? Who the hell are these people that are supposed to be in charge if they haven't seen any of the evidence? Come on.
So that was the 62-minute prior. Okay. At 25 minutes prior, though, someone saw him pointing a rangefinder and taking range estimation or range readings, right?
I don't want to speculate as to what he actually was doing with the rangefinder, but the rangefinder, my understanding is was the heightened suspicion. Yes, sir.
And he was pointing it. I mean, because a rangefinder I guess you can have it digital and do it like this, but there are also rangefinders you look through and you have a reading. Do you know description
I do
of the
not
rangefinder?
it was not briefed to me. I can't.
Okay. But there was concern, and that was relayed to the command post, and that was a PSP guy in the Secret Service command post via a text message 20-something minutes before, and you think it included the fact that the guy had a rangefinder.
My understanding is yes.
Okay. Okay. Then you mentioned that the two ESU guys that were in the second story, in truth, to me, it appears to be a second building behind it that got joined by all these different, the breakup of that whole complex and the intricacies of, places to hide and move around, all the little alleyways, is because they built tunnelways, or not tunnels, but hallways that were covered between each of these different buildings. So it's actually a separate building with a amended.
Connector.
Yep. So there are two guys in that building. They leave to go look for the guy, the suspicious person.
My understanding is yes, according to interviews.
So they were not manning. They did not have oversight on that rooftop because they were out looking for the guy.
Correct. My understanding is it was the grounds around there. To see it photographed now or on your tour yesterday without scores of people traversing from different parking areas to make ingress into the secure perimeter, that there was a concerted effort to try and identify and make contact with him.
Sure.
In conjunction with other, I was briefed that there were two other suspicious individuals that simultaneous to this, not terribly too far away distance-wise. I don't have the specifics, but those is all occurring contemporaneously.
But one of them, Crooks, had a rangefinder, and so they leave and they go look. He's suspicious. That leaves that building with two sets of eyes that could have observed it, granted, by exposing themselves. And by the way, I would think they could stay in the building as opposed to being on top of it for their own sort of defilade position. I get that as a sniper works, but you got to be able to see it. So anyway, they leave. Was Secret Service notified that they were leaving to go look for this guy, and thus those eyes on top of the building not?
I do not know, and the other thing that I do not know is where else Butler ESU sent that information. I have not been briefed on that.
Who told them to go look? Do you know if they were told to go look?
I do not know, sir.
We just know that they did go look.
Yes, sir. And I said a very concerted effort with all of those alcoves and all of those buildings was made. There were two additional officers who, I don't know the specifics of the timeline. I don't know the specifics of the logistics of how that information was relayed, but I'm briefed that they came and they made a very concerted effort to try and locate Crooks.
But it seems to me that was leaving that extra set of eyes on top of the building. It would be something if I were the site commander at that point, I'd want to know two guys are leaving a post where they have observation on a building, and that somebody relayed that to me so that I would know, oh, wait a minute, now two sets of eyes that were on the building. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you pull your lateral security in an ambush or something. I'm talking like an Army guy now. The commander's going to know that guy's moved away from there and now he's got a blind spot, right? So I just want to make sure, I want to dig into that a little more. Obviously, you don't have the answer, so we'll dig elsewhere. But I find it interesting that they leave, this guy is so suspicious, has a rangefinder, they leave their post that they are manning to go look for him, yet Secret Service, and they get told about it 20 to 25 minutes beforehand, but Secret Service still lets the president go on the stage. I'm just totally blown away by that. But again, there's more details to be had. Thank you.
So, yeah, there's more details to be had for sure. And I think one of the main big questions for me, I don't know, I have no professional experience with security detail or how police officers do things. I am merely a manager and an former owner of my own business. But I'll tell you for damn sure, if something terrible happened at my establishment or on my watch, people beneath me that I'm responsible for drop the ball, I'm going to find out every damn detail as quickly as I can to start figuring out who needs to be reprimanded, who needs to be better trained, and what else needs to be done. Like, that's just the way you do it. So for this man to sit here, just like Cheatle sitting there yesterday, saying that they don't know, they haven't been briefed on it yet, they don't know the details. Why the hell not? And clearly, you do not belong in that position. Clearly. Because if you can't get your own people to put a timeline together so that you can kind of piece together what the hell went wrong, you don't need to be in that position of authority. Now, let's move on. We got some more stuff to look at. This is from Redacted.
We have been reporting from day one that someone was on that water tower. And now 10 eyewitnesses, 10, have come forward to confirm that, yes, someone was on that water tower. So you can throw all these 10 people out. You can say, oh, they're just nuts. You know, they're just Trump supporters. They're just nuts. Or you could listen to them. Who was on that water tower the day that President Trump was shot?
Dear God, these.
And now we have video of a figure, someone on that water tower. Now, initially, RSBN Network originally aired this wide-angle footage from their live stream on their X account during this day. We've now zoomed in and added some text so you can see a figure moving on top of this water tower. So take a look.
Hey, and before we look at the figure on top of the water tower, let's just back this up a minute because nobody's really talking about this. Do you remember Vincent Fusca? He's right there in the crowd behind Trump. Watch.
Live stream on their X account during this day. We've now zoomed in and added some text so you can see a figure, someone
right here
on that water tower.
Now,
initially, RSBN
right
Network originally aired
shoulder,
this wide-angle
right there,
footage
right there on the corner
from
of the
their
screen.
live stream on their X account during this day. We've now zoomed in.
He's the man with the fedora hat and the blazer that's open with a t-shirt. Vincent Fusca. Important to note. All right, to the water tower.
And added some text so you can see a figure moving on top of this water tower. So take a look at your screen here.
Chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Now you see that figure disappear.
Wait.
Now you see that figure reemerge. Okay. Now the figure reemerges. So interesting, right? Now we're going to zoom in. You can see this dark figure at the very top here as President Trump is speaking right before the shots are fired. And then this person right after, about 4 seconds after the shots are fired, steps out. You can listen to the ducks out of the view.
And they had been right by the fence where the other shooter was. There was one I heard in the water tower. There was one by the fence.
And still, obviously, initial reports. But what we do know.
First crack of the gunfire, and I just screamed, "It's the sniper! It's the sniper!" And he was firing down toward the water tower.
That's what we're hearing.
Gentleman behind me, I was one seat. He was to the right of me. He could see the sharpshooter on the behind Trump. He said the sharpshooter shot to the left. He killed the gentleman in the water tower here.
So unbelievable. And almost everyone in the chat is saying, I see it. Yes, I see it. I knew right.
Okay. And in my non-expert opinion, that shooter on that roof, on that water tower is the actual shooter that took out Crooks on top of the building. I think he shot at the president and across the crowd, and then he quickly shot Crooks from on top of that building, and that's why you find him slid down the roof some, because he was already taken out and neutralized by the person on the water tower. That was the real professional shooter.
Channel. Make sure you all subscribe.
My apologies for the lag.
And Harry Littman was appointed in 1998 as the United States Attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania. He was appointed by President Bill Clinton. Now, the Western District of Pennsylvania is the area that encompasses Butler, where the shooting took place at the Trump rally. I want to talk about what it is that we know as of now about this shooter. There were things that were publicly reported in terms of the voter ID. The last time the individual voted, we had, it was a Republican voter ID, voted in the midterms. There were some things about other students and neighbors saying that there were Trump signs at the house where he lived with his family. There was a statement, I think, from the dad that the dad believed the son was at a gun range, but when the dad didn't hear where the son was, suspected that he may be involved in the shooting and then reached out to the police. Harry, what is it that we know right now? And based on your expertise, and just to remind everyone, that's the top federal prosecutor in that district. That was the job you had in '98.
Yeah, and that person's my successor is going to be pretty involved now in the investigation. So it did tell me a few things right away. Butler, 40 miles out, that's a rural district, and it is the case in Pennsylvania that you have a lot of domestic terrorism. The old saw is Pennsylvania's Pittsburgh to the west, Philadelphia to the east, Alabama in between. So when you first hear about the shooting, it seems, wow, I want to see the social media. I want to see the domestic terrorism group that this guy joined. But the next detail, he's from Bethel Park, not a poor rural community. That's basically a Pittsburgh bedroom community. And he's 20 years old. And the FBI is basically giving details that make it clear that they have done their first thing that they're going to do, which is make sure there's not any ongoing risk. So to me, this guy from the start seemed like he might well be, and I think he has turned out to be, that pretty rare phenomenon of just a true lone wolf. A little bit like the guy who shot up the Tree of Life. A guy, he's 20 years old, and I think mental illness I thought would be.
Just listen to how they push the lone wolf narrative, because they don't want you to look at the water tower. Because there are 3-letter alphabet agencies behind that. I would bet my bottom dollar.
Involved, and sure enough, when the FBI cracks his phone, he is Googling major depressive disorder, but also interestingly, he's Googling where Biden's going to be, where Trump is going to be. He's a guy who I think, for whatever reason, you might think Travis Bickle and Taxi Driver, he was just ready to commit suicide by cop, and it had very little to do with, Trump versus Biden. Few more.
So seriously, he's going to even try to spin it. See, I haven't even listened to this video yet. He's trying to spin it to where it's not even political, right? That's almost like saying it's not personal. Come on. It was clearly personal. It was clearly political. I mean, Biden just 3 days before this happened was saying, put a bullseye on him, on Trump. It's political. The FBI has been connected to him from a year ago. The boy is also connected to BlackRock. BlackRock owns the building he was on. I mean, how many coincidences before it's mathematically impossible to be anything but a lone wolf? That's not political. That's not personal. Come on, give me a break. Anyway, we're gonna skip this one. I'll share the link if you want to continue to listen to it. We're gonna move on to what Senator Josh Hawley has to say about the whistleblower, the whistleblowers that are coming forward. And then I just have one more short thing to share with you after this.
Senator, great to see you again. What?
Thank you. Yeah, it's absolutely insane, Megan. It's insane. Here's what the whistleblowers, the latest whistleblowers, we've had a number of them come forward to my office. Here's what the latest said just yesterday, that in fact, law enforcement had designated at least one individual, maybe more, but at least one, whose job it was to be on the roof, not in the vicinity, not around, on the roof. And this person, I don't know if it was a he or a she, but this person, according to the whistleblower, decided, oh, it's awfully hot that day. And so they abandoned their post, never went back to the roof. And that is why the roof was left wide open. It wasn't because of the slope, contrary to what the former Secret Service director said. No, it was because this law enforcement individual just didn't want to be on there. But Megan, there's more. Whistleblowers also tell me that law enforcement were supposed to be patrolling the perimeter of that same building. I've been there, Megan. I've seen it myself. I went last week. I took my own team because I don't trust any of these people to give us the truth. It's American Glass Research Building number 6. Megan, it's a low roof. You've seen it. We've all seen it now in pictures. It's a low-slung building. There was supposed to be law enforcement patrolling the perimeter. They weren't doing it either. Instead, because of the heat again, whistleblowers tell me that law enforcement went inside the building. So you got the roof abandoned, you got law enforcement inside the building in the air conditioning, and you have the building essentially open. Megan, you can, sometimes it's hard to see from the pictures, but I can tell you, having been there, there are air conditioning units, really large air conditioning units on either side of that building. It's easy to get on that roof. I mean, it really is. It's a single story. Any able-bodied individual could hop up on the air conditioning unit and hop up right onto the roof. You wouldn't even need a ladder. If you had a ladder, it would be super easy. Any 20-year-old kid, which is what the shooter was, who he was, could certainly do it. Law enforcement, according to whistleblowers, Megan, left the building totally defenseless.
Oh, this is awful. When we say law enforcement, do we mean local law enforcement as distinct from Secret Service?
Yeah, so this is the whistleblower said to me that Secret Service had asked local and or state law enforcement to handle this and that they failed to do so. Now, I will just note, Megan, that there is a lot behind the scenes here and not so behind the scenes in public. There's a lot of attempts at blame shifting, and I'm even getting it from whistleblowers. We've got whistleblowers from Secret Service world who are coming forward and saying it's the locals' fault. And then I've spoken to local law enforcement whistleblowers from that said, don't blame us. It's the Secret Service's fault. The Secret Service didn't even show up the way they were supposed to for the walkthrough plan with local law enforcement. So it is unclear to me. This is why we need the facts. This is ridiculous. You've got law enforcement on both sides pointing the fingers at each other. You've got a former Secret Service director who would take no responsibility. But bottom line is this. Somebody was supposed to be on that roof. Somebody was supposed to be guarding that building. Nobody did either.
So the local law enforcement is delegated this task, and Secret Service, for some reason, put it outside the perimeter of the responsible area that Secret Service would have to look after. And then it seems like they washed their hands of it. I mean, we had a former Secret Service guy on the show a couple days ago who was saying it doesn't matter whether it was inside or outside the perimeter. Ultimately, it is the Secret Service's responsibility. And if you're going to delegate it to local law enforcement, it's still your responsibility to make sure that it's well protected. That, plus the fact that we know Kim Cheatle lied about the reason they weren't up there was a sloped roof isn't safe, tells me they're running scared. They know it was on them. And then we get her performance yesterday, which, yes, ultimately led to her being forced out over her strong objection. But why wouldn't she give any names? I realize there's probably going to be a public pylon when we figure out who put the area outside of the, Secret Service perimeter and so on. But them's the facts. Like, that's life. So why can't we get actual specifics?
Well, we need actual specifics, and the reason I think is that nobody wants to be responsible for anything. Secret Service doesn't want to be responsible. DHS doesn't want to be responsible. Let me highlight something else that a whistleblower has told me, Megan, and that is there were more DHS, Department of Homeland Security, more Homeland Security personnel there that day, working the rally that day, than Secret Service agents. And this is because Secret Service is so overstretched. They had so many other events going that they didn't have enough people to actually cover the rally. So the majority, the preponderance, most of the agents there that day, the federal agents, were from Homeland Security. They weren't prepared for this event. They were not ready to do their jobs. They were supposed to be doing things like using canines at the entrance to sweep people, going through the crowd. They were supposed to be guarding the area around the platform. They were supposed to be coordinating with locals. And whistleblowers tell me they weren't doing any of these things. So, Megan, we've got failure at every single level. I mean, every level you look at here, Secret Service wasn't coordinating this properly. Secret Service allowed Trump to go on stage. Secret Service didn't have the right plan in place. DHS was
FBI is directly connected.
unprepared. They didn't know what they were doing. State and local law enforcement officials were just out there on their own, not sure what they were supposed to be doing, maybe not doing their job. I mean, it is every piece of this is a total disaster.
The House Oversight hearing yesterday saying that the officers involved at that particular facility were Butler Emergency Services, and God knows what their training was. Who knows whether they had the training or the experience to understand how to protect a former president who we knew was under threat, or who they should have known was under threat.
Okay, and again, their training is no excuse because they knew at least 3 weeks out, the Secret Service knew at least 3 weeks out that Trump would be there. And it is their job as the Secret Service security team to make sure that all parties involved in securing the perimeter and the people that are there, including the former president of the United States, is done. It was their job to do it, and they dropped the ball. They've got the stupid Pac-Man thing cut out to where the whole little slice of the pie over there was left completely up to the police department to secure that area. No plans from the Secret Service, no direction from the Secret Service, nothing. Left wide open. This is bullshit.
So now you have Kim Cheatle forced out as a result of the embarrassing performance yesterday, in addition to the failures that kicked this whole thing off. And you've got Joe Biden's reaction as follows in a paper statement. Who knows whether this is really from him? She has selflessly dedicated and risked her life to protect our nation throughout her career in the U.S. Secret Service. We especially thank her for answering the call to lead the Secret Service during our administration. We're grateful for her service to our family. As a leader, it takes honor, courage, and incredible integrity to take full responsibility for an organization tasked with one of the most challenging jobs in public service. And then they go on to say the independent review to get to the bottom of what happened on July 13th continues, and I look forward to assessing its conclusions. That's pretty remarkable. He does not come anywhere near throwing her under the bus. I don't know that this gets it done, Senator. What do you think?
No, it doesn't. I mean, and by the way, she did none of those things. The things he just said in his statement there, honor, service, responsibility. She didn't take any responsibility. We all watched the hearing. And by the way, she had briefed senators before that hearing 5 days ago now, 6 days ago. She briefed senators in a closed door briefing. Megan, she was exactly in that briefing as she was yesterday. She was unprepared, she was ill-informed, and she was totally unwilling to take any responsibility. She didn't know basic facts 6 days ago. She didn't know basic facts yesterday. If the president really wanted to show some leadership, he should have fired her. He should have said, this is totally unacceptable. I never should have appointed you. You're fired. But of course, this guy won't fire anybody. I mean, let's think back to Afghanistan.
He's certainly not going to fire her because she was Jill Biden's Secret Service, right? She's a favorite of theirs. Anybody that's in with their favor is not going to get the same type of treatment that anyone else would get. Now, this just in, apparently there is proof of life of President Joe Biden. Let me see if I can pull it up.
So we need to see the. No, it's the baby monkey.
Yeah, here's a clip showing him getting off of Air Force One, I guess.
Look at the TV. Look at it.
Stairs back to Delaware. The big guy's free of COVID, free of his campaign, and announced on X that he will address the nation from the Oval Office at 8 p.m. tomorrow.
Oh, dear God.
Biden also briefly mumbled
My apologies.
today to prove that he is not artificial intelligence.
To prove that he's not artificial intelligence. What the hell does that mean? Hold on just a moment. Let me get it back up here. I don't know why it keeps messing up. Well, I guess I
President
do.
Biden showing America some proof of life today, returning to the White House 6 days since we saw him battle the short stairs back to Delaware. The big guy's free of COVID, free of his campaign, and announced on X that he will address the nation from the Oval Office at 8 p.m. tomorrow. Biden also briefly mumbled today to prove that he is not artificial intelligence.
Mr. President, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you feeling? Why did you drop out of the election? Was it a difficult decision to make?
And KJP letting the ladies of The View know Joe's still the boss, even if he is ghosting the country.
He stepped down.
And I don't care what she's got to say. So we're going to stop that right there. And I want to end on a high note. I want you to remember the great nation that we all love and live in. I want you to remember the promises that have been made and kept by our great former president, Donald J. Trump. And I want you to just remember for a moment what he said on that great day so that you can restore your hope and your faith in something really great actually happening in our country to change all of this. Because I assure you, they have reason to be afraid. When he comes back into office, I think there's going to be a lot of arrests.
Bring you long-form public affairs programming from the nation's capital and are a public service of your television provider. C-SPAN, created by cable.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald.
Let's get to where I want to put it here. Listen to these words.
Chief Justice Roberts, President Carter, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, fellow Americans, and people of the world, thank you. We, the citizens of America, are now joined in a great national effort to rebuild our country and restore its promise for all of our people. Together, we will determine the course of America and the world for many, many years to come. We will face challenges. We will confront hardships, but we will get the job done. Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. And we are grateful to President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama for their gracious aid throughout this transition. They have been magnificent. Thank you. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long,
I just want to interrupt him there to point out to you that he signed some very specific executive orders that did just that. And you will soon learn of all of those.
Small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but the jobs left and the factories closed. The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. Their victories have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs. And while they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across our land. That all changes starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you. It belongs to everyone gathered here today and everyone watching all across America. This is your day. This is your celebration. And this, the United States of America, is your country. What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer.
And I know what you're thinking. There's been a lot more suffering since then. But if you understand the playbook, if you understand how chess works, then you understand that they've been trying to undermine everything that he set forth. Rest assured, we're getting ready to right a lot of wrongs.
Everyone is listening to you now. You came by the tens of millions to become part of a historic movement, the likes of which the world has never seen before. At the center of this movement is a crucial conviction that a nation exists to serve its citizens. Americans want great schools for their children, safe neighborhoods for their families, and good jobs for themselves.
Okay, pardon me, because I'm just going to interrupt that to move right along here, because this is a very long speech, I think, about right there.
When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice. The Bible tells us how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. We must speak our minds openly, debate our disagreements honestly, but always pursue solidarity. When America is united, America is totally unstoppable. There should be no fear. We are protected, and we will always be protected. We will be protected by the great men and women of our military and law enforcement. And most importantly, we will be protected by God.
He said some key words there. We will always be protected by our military and by God. And there's real meaning in what he said there. that you will soon learn of. We're going to bump ahead a little bit further to the end of his speech.
Whether a child is born in the urban sprawl of Detroit or the windswept plains of Nebraska, they look up at the same night sky, they fill their heart with the same dreams, and they are infused with the breath of life by the same almighty Creator. So to all Americans in every city, near and far, small and large, from mountain to mountain, from ocean to ocean, hear these words: you will never be ignored again. Your voice, your hopes, and your dreams will define our American destiny. And your courage and goodness and love will forever guide us along the way. Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
And I want you to all leave on that note from this presentation, that we together, our voices, standing up, united, is what makes this nation great again. Justice will prevail. Our military is on the ready, and God is protecting and leading us all. Say a prayer for your country. Say a prayer for our future president. Say a prayer for yourself. Because in these coming days, you're going to need strength, you're going to need clarity, and you're going to need drive. You're also going to need space in your mind to be able to file away all of the information that will be coming to you. There are those that are here to help you along the way. We are the people. We, the people, stand together and united in love for country and God. I wish you well.